And this is a video on the Trek Madone, the holy bike as I like to call it, because there's a great big hole underneath the seat post. And Trek have come out, acknowledged this bike exists, and they've actually give some information about what this hole's for. And the two areas that they comment on is comfort and also aero. So we're going to run an intro and we're going to have a look at these two claims that Trek make, and they actually give some footage as well, and we're going to have a look at that, and we're going to break down really, are these claims really believable by Trek, and is some of these claims they're making revolutionary? So let's roll the intro and let's get into it. Well, first of all, I'd like to start with the comfort. Now, when I did my previous video on this bike, I claimed that it's probably been done because of comfort. And I think the Trek company have primarily designed this new design to do that, because what they've done is they've broken both of the triangles. They've broken the rear triangle and the front triangle. So of course they're going to take the rigidity out of the bike, especially at the top part of the bike. They've beefed up the bottom bracket to try and bring the stiffness back into the bike. But I would probably say that there will be a significant amount of deflection in that top part where that hole is, because what they've done is, instead of having a straight member and a triangular bracing, which then is quite stiff, what they've done is they've broken that and they've laid down the connections. The connections are probably around about 30 degrees if you're looking at it from the ground horizontally, that connects the down tube, which is broken, to the seat stays, which then transfer up at probably around about 60 or 70 degree angles that's coming from the back wheel up to the seat post, which is then cantilevered off the back of the bike. So you've got significant points of being able to allow that part of the bike to flex, therefore giving you comfort. So in this area, I'd probably say definitely, yeah, there's going to be more comfort in that top end of the bike. They're going to allow a lot more flexing. The members there will actually deflect more because of the way that they've put them in shear rather than in compression or tension. Now, the other thing that they claim is the aero advantage, and this is where I've got some significant criticism about what they're claiming. Now, they're saying that aero-wise, they're getting a benefit of about 60 seconds, and I imagine that's over 40 kilometers. The video watched by David Arthur, he didn't mention the distance, but generally all of these claims are made over 40 kilometers, and they're saying that there's a 60-second claim. Now, as far as bikes go and claiming advantages, aero advantages, that's extremely significant. I think that the Rebel bike, which I do believe was a much more focused aero bike, claimed something just slightly more than that, and that had some really interesting technology on it. And I'd probably lean more towards Rebel figures being realistic than Trek's. Now, the reason why I say that is because this hole is at a place on the bike where there's a lot of dirty air, or air that's being disturbed, because it passes the knees coming up, it's past the front wheel, it's past the head tube, it's past the handlebars where the hands are, and the levers, which are all not very aerodynamic devices. And then after that wind is turbulated, it's hitting this hole that they've put in the bike. So I'd probably argue that the benefit is either zero or even only a very small amount. In fact, it actually may make the bike slower because of the way it's designed. It's actually wider, because we know that most of the brands are going to these drop seat stays. So they're getting those seat stays out of that air that's coming underneath the seat, and they're making it lower and closer to the wheel, which causes turbulence anyway, because we know the top of the rear wheel is going twice the speed of the bike. And this is actually being proved in the Trek footage of where they do the smoke test, and as you see the smoke go through the hole, you see it massively turbulate as it comes out the other side. I don't know what they expect people to believe watching that video, because they're saying it's aero, but you can see as it comes out and it starts to turbulate, it hits the back wheel, and the spokes, and you can see the massive turbulation that's caused just behind the hole that's on the frame. So really, they're putting more in the air, and it's not a knacker shape. They're very, very thin, which isn't that Aero. And then also you've got a device that's just behind that opening that's spinning at twice the speed of the bike, which has spokes, which is causing an incredible amount of disturbance in the air at that point on the bike. And you've also got very sharp edges at the bottom of the cantilevered piece that's for the seat. And as the air goes round there, it'll go off that hard edge and it will turbulate. So I'd probably even say that it may even be less aero than just a normal type bike that has drop seat stays and just a single tube. Now, of course, I haven't got any tests to do that, but looking at it, and we know how aero components work, you can't really see how this is going to give, this piece on the bike, this hole in the bike is going to give the bike any aero advantage. Well, as you can see here, I'm endowed with my Disney grumpy jacket. So maybe I'm a little bit grumpy. But when these manufacturers come out with these claims, I must admit, I almost take offense of it, because I don't know what they think we're going to believe. It's just beyond belief what they come out with. But one thing I will say that Trek are saying that is true is they're saying that they've changed the handlebar system on the bike. And what they've done here is they've made the handlebars narrower and they've flared them. Now, we do know that narrow handlebars are more aero. That's been proven. A number of riders are already doing that. And we even had one pro that was disqualified in a race because he was using a revolutionary design that were very, very narrow, and you could lean your arms on them. And they said the handlebars were okay, but the way he used them in the race, they disqualified him for that. So we do know that changing your handlebars does give you an aero advantage, and that's nothing new. I mean, Trek haven't come up with anything revolutionary there. They've just made the handlebars a bit narrow. But the point to be made there is, first of all, does the bike still fit you? Are you comfortable with those narrow handlebars? You may actually not like them. You may not like the feel of that narrow handlebars. I actually tried some 38s, some narrow handlebars, and I found them just a little bit too uncomfortable, so I went back out to your 40. I came from 42, I went to 38, and I went back to 40 because I found them just a little bit too narrow. So that comes down to rider feel. I don't think you can put out a bike with different sizes and basically say, hey, you're getting stuck with this size handlebar, because that comes down to fit. So I don't think that's really a significant claim Trek can make, because at the end of the day, you need to fit the bike, you need to be comfortable on the bike before you look at things like aero. And that part of changing the bike really changes the fit. And I think that that needs to be considered if you're going to buy this Trek Madone with this hole in it and what Trek are offering. It's best to check that out, what size you are, what handlebar width they're offering, and if you are comfortable riding a bike with that handlebar width. You can't just, manufacturers just can't say, oh, we're going to put like a 38 mil or something narrower on a bike because it's more aero and it's faster, but we're going to stick that on all the different sizes. They need to be realistic about the fit of the bike and the size of the bike and the size of the person riding it. So in conclusion, as I said with my previous video, this hole that they've put in there, yes, I can see how it may add some more comfort to the bike, because they're basically breaking the strength or the rigidity part of the bike at the top of the seat tube. So therefore, you've got two pieces and you're connecting them in shear, so it's going to flex more like this. So I can see that there's that comfort argument could be 100% true, and that might have been the primary change of design, because they had a comfort piece on the old Trek Madone, and now they've changed the design to a different design to give comfort on the new Trek Madone. But as far as aero goes, I think Trek are really, I'll use the word exaggeration, but exaggerating their claims there to some degree. And we always seem to hear this so many seconds faster over this distance. Now, I don't know if they do this in reality. I know Rebel actually did a real world test on that, and they gave some figures for that. Obviously, it was a white paper, so it wasn't peer-reviewed or anything like that, but they did actually do a real-world test. From what I can see with Trek, this was done by modeling. They used a mannequin. They did it in a wind tunnel, which people have criticized how relative wind tunnels are when you take them outside in the real world. So really, these continuing figures that manufacturers give with every new bike is so many seconds faster over 40 kilometers. I really do have to put a question mark on that. So I don't think that if you buy this bike and you're buying it as an aero bike and you think you're going to get an aero advantage, I think that I would take that with a pinch of salt. But as far as comfort goes, we'll have to get some people riding it. Hopefully some of the people who do have access to these new bikes can give us some feedback on that. But I probably would say that it would be quite a comfortable bike to ride because of the way the design is, and that may work very, very well. But anyway, guys, leave your comments down below. Now it's been officially acknowledged by Trek and their claims. What do you think about their claims? What do you think about this bike? It's considerably expensive. I think even the 105 version of it is something insane. So it's an expensive bike. Would you buy it? Would you drop the cash on it? And leave your comments down below. And also, don't be a ninja watcher. Remember to subscribe and ring that bell so you can get more of this content. I like to try and keep it real. Some people don't like what I've got to say, but hey man, that's Waynos. That's Waynos' view on it, and that's what people come here for. I like to try and keep it as real as possible and just put those questions out there to you guys about what these products are offering. Well, anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave it, and I will see you next vid. Cheers.